Hi, this is Nash Jocic and welcome to my YouTube channel. We continue in part 3. We're going to be talking about nutrition with my friend, bodybuilding legend and owner of famous Muscleworks, Kyriacou. So Saf, the question that probably lots of people have in mind is, yeah, right, all these guys, you know, that we know now about the training and the principles that we were talking in the part 2. But what would I have in mind now? The following question definitely. So what do these guys eat? What did and what do bodybuilding champions, Muscleworks champions eat? So can you tell us what is your advice? What people should eat in order to get big?
In reality, everybody had a slightly different needs and different preference in their diet. For example, JD preferred having bigger meals and not as frequent. The same with Brian. Emery has had more frequent meals and less each time. Ian Wadley, he could eat anything. Lenny Sia was very controlled, even still to today. Jamal was the same. Everybody had a slightly different idea, but the basic thing was that they all did not overeat. Even in off-season, they tried to stay reasonably lean. The only time that didn't happen in 1 year, JD decided to do the opposite, and then he realized it didn't really work for him, but then it was just an experiment that he was doing on himself. But in reality, the formula is more or less the same, is eat good all the time. Do not say, oh, I'm in the off season, I can eat what I want, or I'm going to bulk up and then I'm going to cut down. First of all, there isn't such a thing as bulk. It's either fat or muscle. You know, all this business about bulking up and then cutting down is all rubbish, because you end up losing muscle trying to lose the fat that you get in the first place. So, in reality, is to try and eat in a more natural way. You know, I would say things that are God-given.
All right.
You know, not, you know, apart from the protein powder that we all have and we all use, everything else is natural.
Right.
And keep away from processed.
Okay, so we know that lots of people prefer to eat some carbohydrates in the diet, let's say 30-40%. There are people who achieve results with even higher level of carbohydrates. But also there are people that I have come across, including myself, who made progress, grew big and strong, and kept lean by reducing carbohydrates to bare minimum, let's say 10-15% of the diet, and most of the rest of the calories would come predominantly from protein and then some fats. So what do you think about that? Where is your opinion about how much protein, how much carbohydrates has been the two major players? We know that some people retain a lot of water weight in carbs, some don't. But what do you think? What is your experience in that?
Let's put my personal experience on it. I prefer to eat more carbs than protein, but I know it doesn't work for me. And most people that it doesn't really work for them, they have that preference. They crave more carbs than protein. And I think if anybody suffers, that is an answer really, a quick, slightly unscientific, because scientifically I can't prove it. But I think if you crave more carbs, then keep away from them. And in the fact that some people, what they do is, well, they take things literally. They go on a low carb, high protein, but they don't balance the right fats. And that's when it goes wrong.
Yep.
If you have the right fats, you can stay low carbs.
Yep.
And I think it does work for prolonged periods of time. And also it depends on, obviously, the type of carbs that you're having, and it depends on the type of fats and even protein sometimes. So in reality, the majority of us, I think we should make sure that our protein is higher than our carbs, up to a point obviously high protein, and we make sure we have the right fats.
Yeah.
And then the energy levels will not suffer at all, and I see that every day.
Yeah, exactly. I have benefited personally from keeping the carbs low, but that's obviously not the rule. I think, honestly, that the majority of people, if I can, from my experience, clients and people that I work in the last 25 years, in the fitness industry that if I say good 70% of people would react better by eating higher protein diet than higher carb diet, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, good. All right, so when it comes to protein sources in food, which protein sources are you favorable? Are you eating red meat? Are you advise people to eat lots of red meat or to eat a little bit less? Chicken, fish, turkey, egg whites, eggs, whole eggs. Where is the right answer according to you?
Most of the time it's to do with your age as well.
Right.
I find that now, as I go older, I find it harder to digest meat.
Yep.
Because of hydrochloric acid and things, but obviously because
of
doing things wrong in the past, it affected the production of that acid to help digest protein. So my major sort of protein source at the moment, I would say, is nuts and yogurt.
Yeah.
I'm Greek, so we eat yogurt.
That's very, very interesting.
But I do eat meat and I do eat fish. I'm not a very great lover of fish, which obviously I regret. I wish I was. Thank God my son he loves fish. But in reality, if you like, you should never have one type of protein. Yeah. You should have a variety of different proteins for different reasons.
Exactly.
Mainly the digestion and absorption of different proteins by the stomach. So you should not, I just have chicken only, or I just have turkey only, or I just have fish only. You should never do that.
This is something that is happening today in the professional bodybuilding world, when you can see a lot of pros eating like just chicken 6, 7, 8 ounces per day with rice. You heard from Saf, this is a very interesting thing to remember, that nuts and yogurt are another source of protein which he implements in his diet. My personal choice is turkey breast, tuna, then chicken, and then egg whites with few yolks. But keep that obviously source of protein different, because it's not just protein, but we're also talking about different amino acids which are different in different foods, different combination in different amounts. What do you think about protein powders? Because lots of people, every single one of us is using them. Now, there is one thing to use them, and there is another thing to abuse them. I know personally people who eat very little and have like 3, 4, even 5 shakes per day, while eating only once maybe, or sometimes twice. What do you have to say to those guys? Okay, the problem, protein powder obviously depends on the quality and the make, is a good thing, is when people have the protein powder and then have the eating protein, and they don't realize that because they're eating protein, that they don't have to have maybe so much powder. Yeah. You know, that's where the problem occurs. And you know, too much protein could have a problem in your kidneys, so you have to be careful as well. So calculate overall every gram of protein that you have. Yes. Maybe don't worry about the protein that's in the carbs, because most of the carbs, proteins is not complete. So, you know, look at that as well, but not calculate the powder and the food in protein, not just only the food or only the powder. So you combine it together. But, you know, anything in life, when you have too much of it, it could have an adverse reaction in your body, and right. I see that a lot actually. Good. So we heard a little bit about eating in the off-season. So now, when your champions were getting ready for the show, what did you advise them to do diet-wise? Would it be overall reduction of calories, or would it be a reduction of carbohydrates in the food, or elimination of fat, or reduction of protein as well? Which way would work for most of the people? Well, the advice I always gave is eliminate the bad fats from your diet. Okay, so first eliminate the bad fats, right? I do advise them to count calories only. It's like, I use it as an analogy as in your car, then you can only find out, you know, miles per gallon if your car is using petrol too much or not. Sure. Only as a guideline. So if somebody, for example, is having 5,000 calories, obviously alone just the calories do not make the whole picture. It's finding out where those calories are coming from. So I would use the calories as a sort of guideline. Right. But it was the type of calories that were going in that would change. Because, I've experienced people having, you know, 3,000 calories and not losing weight, and then still maintaining 3,000 calories, but changing the type of calories they were taking in. Straight away it will change their body fat levels. So you have to look at the type
of proteins, even and fats and the carbohydrates. So you eliminate the bad carbohydrates, you eliminate the bad fats, maintaining a good intake.
What was the preferable choice of carbohydrates for people who were your champions before the show? Would it be rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yam, fruit?
Well, the first advice I give them before I change anything in it is what they find digests without giving them any complications. Because sometimes you can mix, and I had this example yesterday.
Yes,
somebody added sweet potato into their diet and he wasn't used to it.
Yes.
And he maybe had a bit too much yesterday, and he was in pain, he couldn't even train.
Yeah.
I had to give him special tea and some acid stuff to try and help him. He couldn't even train, couldn't even straighten because his stomach was so severely affected by the digestion went haywire. So it's whatever you eat, make sure that it doesn't upset your stomach.
So you're comfortable with the food you use?
Yes, it doesn't create gas, it doesn't create constipation, it doesn't make you lethargic too much. You know, all those things you look at. So anything that has any adverse reaction, it doesn't matter if God, I don't want to use the word God, tells you do that, it doesn't agree with you, do not add it into your diet.
So you have to look for the food that agrees with your body. That is the only food that you can play with. Your selection, it's a very good example, so it's not necessarily...
Your energy levels, are they good, are they not? You know, if somebody's having 200 grams of carbs a day and their energy levels are no good, then we have to look at why.
Yep.
Is it a type of carbs? Is he overtraining? Usually it's the type of carbs that affects them. Yep. And the type of fats.
Alright, can you please tell us in a few words something about vitamins? We all know there are people who are so religious about vitamins. They have to take them 3 times per day, every day. If they don't take them, they get upset, they think they miss something big and all that. What is your view about those vitamins, minerals, fat burners and other supplements like that? Are they really that necessary, or they are important but not that necessary?
I think the problem we have is that we might be on a very good diet, we have been having all the necessary nutrients through our stomach, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we absorb everything we eat. And because we don't really know, unless we're having a blood test every day, it's not a bad thing, because it's very hard to overdose on supplements. Also because if you're having 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, doesn't mean you're going to absorb 1,000 milligrams. What I am very cautious about is the stimulant type supplements that people are using to help them train, get a better pump, all these things. In reality, that you have to be a bit cautious, that you shouldn't rely on them or shouldn't take them too much, because in the long run they will have an adverse reaction.
Sure.
You know, training should be coming from your heart. You don't need to be having all those things to help you train and get a pump. If you're training correctly, you'll be getting a pump anyway. So that's what.
Yeah. What about we know about this, because there is a threshold. We can only absorb a certain amount of vitamins or minerals in the body, and after that they will end up in the tissues which we don't want them to end up. For example, magnesium, calcium, they can end up in the kidneys if they are not absorbed. If you take them too much. So they are called micronutrients anyway, so they have to be taken in very, very small doses. But as Saf said, we need to know exactly if we require them or not. But what about basic supplements like vitamin C, vitamin E, B vitamins? Do you think they're okay to be taken on a daily basis in some
recommended dosages? I think it shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, you try and get the best quality you can get, and sometimes the cheapest is not the best. So that's where you have to be careful a bit. Otherwise, I think if you're having a bit more than you should be having, you would get some effects on certain things. I mean, for example, if you're having too much zinc, probably affect your stomach as well. If you have an empty stomach, it will affect your stomach. You get pains in your stomach, so you have to be careful as well. Always take them on full stomach, so that will help the absorption.
Yes. All right, thank you, Saf, and I hope you've got advice and a message from Saf regarding training, nutrition, and that will help you to get better in future and improve your shape.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.